Hey everyone, I'm James Amon. I'm the lead strength and conditioning coach for the Massey Academy of Sport, and I also work with high performance sport as well, working with their elite athletes. My presentation today is on recovery and what you can do to optimise your performance. Um, Most of these slides will be to do with athletes. However, these general recovery principles can be applied to anyone, any weekend warrior, anyone that likes to stay fit and healthy. So hopefully you'll learn a few things that can help you with your recovery going forward. See today what we'll do. We're not going to go too in depth. We're going to touch on. There'll be a little introduction, of course. Then I'll go through the methods of recovery. So there's stretching, so both dynamic versus static. Hot cold immersions, foam rolling, trigger balls, active recovery, compression clothing, how that can help, hydration, nutrition, sleep, and then lastly alcohol and basically how it can undo all your hard work, unfortunately. This is me. Those that don't know me, again, like I said, I've worked with elite athletes now for going on sort of 15, 16 odd years. I'm starting to lose count. Look, I've worked with lots of athletes and of many different talent levels, I guess. Some were just naturally gifted. Some had to work really, really hard to get where they were. But even more frustrating, I guess, being part of an elite athletic group. As long as I have, you come across athletes that could have been better if they'd actually just chosen to look after themselves a bit better. Their recovery strategies were poor or non-existent. They were very poor out of structured exercise. So, it just shows that, just having a gift won't get you to where you need to get. You've got to be the whole package. And I've said there, training doesn't finish once the last rep is complete or the last interval is done. Recovery is another form of training. Okay, it's always a good thing to have in the back of your head. So the goal of recovery, okay, the ultimate goal of recovery, right, is to reduce potential injury risk and or burnout. You cannot perform to your optimum levels if you're injured, if you're missing games, you're not getting selected. So that's got to be the number one goal. Reducing and eliminating DOMS or delayed onset of muscle soreness, that is pretty straightforward, right? That's getting rid of all that soreness and that stiffness that vigorous exercise and training can have on your body. Okay, so it's the ability for us to buffer that waste product out of your muscles. Okay, to really try and eliminate that. It's also, recovery is great for mental and physical sharpening. A lot of the time that few minutes of looking after yourself can do wonders for your mental sharpness and really just getting yourself reset for the next big session or the next big day, because again that the mental side of things, that you've got more than just training in your lives. Often you've got a lot of things going on, so it's definitely something you need to be aware of, that you've got to keep looking after yourself in that way. As I said, goal of recovery, you've got to maintain high levels of performance in a week. And again, it doesn't matter if you're an elite athlete or just a solo mum or dad who likes to train but also has other things going on. So you've got to keep yourself going. That's the best way you can look after yourself. I think one of the concerning trends is that recovery is often overlooked by increases in volume and intensity. And what I mean by that is that a lot of time athletes and general pop clients start to notice things are dropping off. They're getting, they're not hitting their bench press targets. Their 5K run times is actually increased by 30 seconds. And instead of looking at it and saying, wow, I think I might be burnt out and I need to look at recovery, often they slap and layer more training on top to try and extract more out of themselves, when in fact it's the complete opposite. Their bodies are saying, help, we need a rest, we need some stretching and some recovery and some more sleep. So that's something again that I've noticed that's starting to become more and more apparent. So if that sounds a bit like you, hopefully this next few slides will be beneficial for you. So stretching, we all know what it is, and I'm not really going to go on about it too much. There are plenty of different types of stretching. I'm going to go through the most basic two, right? So you've got your static stretching and you've got your dynamic stretching. Again, the methodology and the thinking around stretching has changed a lot. Even when I was an undergrad student a few years ago now, the mindset was always stretching is really, really beneficial for before exercise. So static stretching was like, go and stretch a cold muscle and get it warm, where the thinking has sort of changed now to more that, maybe it's a good idea to stretch a muscle when it's already warm, so you're just going to risk actually damaging it potentially. This is not exact science, but this is probably something where the thinking, the paradigm has sort of shifted. Okay, so I reckon it's best for post-exercise and competition. We've done a lot of work, with say rugby sevens and things like that, where it is a good chance to get the team to unwind, and I think I'll talk about that in a couple of points' time. So yeah, the muscles are warm, but they are fatigued, so that's why stretching is a really good way, because what we want to do with stretching is to really just get that blood flowing through those muscles and getting that buffering out. Okay, so the tight muscle fibers release, circulation increases, and that's the ultimate goal. So again, failure to release those tight muscles, guess what will happen? Injury risk goes up. That's everything we're trying to reduce with when we put recovery strategies in place. As I said, team sports, you can make this an inclusive activity, which is quite good, and also alarming that how many athletes don't know if they're put on the spot, right, show us a stretch, and they suddenly freeze. It's a good way to engage with the group, and everyone starts to learn about their bodies and different body parts. So, hey, if you can make stretching fun, happy days, that'll mean that people actually do it. And again, very easy to do each night, static stretching. You can do it in your room, you can do it on your lounge, it doesn't matter where you do it, as long as you've got a nice, good routine. And I've got a couple of really good stretching videos that I follow and I give to a lot of students. So we'll make sure, hopefully at the end of this, a link can be, I guess my email can be shared. And if you want that, I'll be happy to share it to you. It's really beneficial. Dynamic stretching, again, this is probably a little bit better for warm-ups, but still can be used for recovery as well. But again, in my experience, dynamic's really good. It gets people moving, gets their sort of neural activation, their brains going and starting to focus, which is especially good for competition days and things like that, but also for practices, just so you know that everyone's on the same page. The bodies are, we say the goal of a good warm-up is obviously to make sure you are ready to go for your sport, and that's why we make sure we get that going early doors. Again, can assist with range of motion post-exercise. So again, just doing some dynamic lunges might be able to free up your legs after a really heavy cycling session or a running session. That's just a very arbitrary example. And again, the goal of dynamic stretching increases circulation. Again, helps the buffering, getting that lactic acid out of the muscles and starting to get them regenerating. Cold immersions. So I think this picture tells it, really paints the picture accurately. There's always two types of people with hot colds: those that just can freakishly tolerate cold, and those that really can't. Okay, and I've come across probably the ones that can't more so. Thinking that has changed a little bit in this area over the last sort of 10, 15 years. Some people don't think that hot cold immersion is good for recovery. But there's been a lot of research done on it, sort of 50-50. So me personally, I say that if you think that if you feel better after doing a hot cold session or just a cold, do it. If you feel better, I mean, even if it's a placebo effect, it's still, you're actively looking and thinking about recovery. So you're taking the steps to do that, and that's really important. So what do hot colds do? So vasodilation is basically, again, that sort of the heating up and cooling and getting that blood flowing through. So again, just flushing is probably the more common layman term for that. So obviously from the hot colds, it promotes the flushing, the toxins, gets it all out, reduces swelling, which is a really big thing, where a lot of time you won't realise that your muscles that can be quite swollen and damaged. So and it helps reduce that muscle soreness. Cold immersion is really easy. You can just get a bath, or when we go on the road with sevens or netball, cricket, whatever sports you're involved with, you get a blow-up pool and just fill it up. Again, it's a bit of team bonding almost as well, which I think is pretty cool to do. You've just got to I'll say, well, carry on my points and I'll get back to what I'm about to say. But even after the cold, if you don't do hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, probably jump in the cold for like the common thinking is anywhere between 2 and 6 minutes. Some people do 10. I don't know why, but they do. But if they feel good about that, then that's great. You've just got to be really careful that the cold isn't too cold, because, no different to going for a swim in water that's far too cold. You can actually risk hypothermic effects from that cold water. So about sort of 12, 13 degrees is normally where we like to sort of have the temperature roughly. Okay, so it's just not overdoing it. What the research says, again, it just needs to be probably, it's probably more in favour of doing hot colds than it's not, but we're just going to make sure that when you do it, you do it right. Okay. Foam rolling. So I think we've all done foam rolling in some way, shape or form. I see it done poorly often. Again, I guess doing it a little bit right is better than not doing it at all, but hopefully today I can teach you how to do it properly. So why do we do it? It's all about myofascial release, or the connective tissues, rolling it out with just big piles of dough. And if you're athletes or if you're smashing your body with training, you need to roll those lumps out, and that's basically why we do foam rolling. Okay, again, aims to reduce and eliminate that delayed onset of muscle soreness and muscle fatigue by, guess what, again, helps increase range of motion, circulation, and really gets rid of all those really tight muscles. Okay, so if you've got a tight muscle, it's going to shorten, and that's not going to help with things like range of motion. So trying to roll those out is really, really important. As I said, it's often performed really, really poorly. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you guys can, I'll try and do an example. If this is a leg here, people just sort of like are rolling back and forth for 10 seconds on their quads, and then they switch to something else. It's got to be a really slow, measured roll. Okay, so it's got to be nice and evenly, good even tempo, and we probably want to do it for, I think I put there, like up to 60 seconds on a targeted muscle. Okay, so really try and spend the time to release it. Your muscles aren't stupid. I mean, it's a bit like a stretch. Like I don't think I said in the stretching video, like a stretching slide, that to properly release a muscle with a stretch, you've got to hold the stretch for upwards of 15 seconds before the muscle will even start to begin to release. So doing the old 5 second quad stretch, I'm not going to be doing a hell of a lot. You've got to really be looking at sort of 15 to 30 seconds. Same with foam rolling. 2 times sort of 60 seconds is a really good way to give the muscles a chance to really release. So you start with small, precise movements, then edge further into longer, more targeted rolling motions. Target the entire length of the muscle. Okay, like spoiler alert, both ends of that muscle are going to be the sorest parts, right? It's very seldom right in the middle of it. You can get firm and spiky rollers are probably a lot more beneficial than those sort of really soft rubber, soft foam ones that again still do something, but if you want to really make a positive effect with your body, you really got to get in deep. And as I say, something's better than nothing. So even if it's done poorly, I'd like to believe that it's still going to be a little bit better to do than nothing at all. I quite often get asked, basically, should I roll a really sore muscle? No, would be the answer. Try and wait for it to actually be a little less sensitive before you really start to roll and get into that. Okay, and like I say, if it's really injured, see a physio. They'll be able to tell you what's going on. Trigger balls. These are a little bit more direct pressures. They have the same effect as a foam roller. Really good direct pressure to localized areas. They're portable and adaptive, and great thing is you can use things like golf balls and tennis balls and things like that. Put the good, the bad, the good, the reasonable, and the bad. The reasonable is self-massage, so it's cost-effective, so you can get as good a benefit as a massage just by doing it on yourself, and it's cheaper. It does the bad but good is that you get one of these and roll into your muscles around your shoulder blade or into your ITBs and your foot and that, and it lets you know that that's working you hard. But that's a good thing, right? We really want that to be the case. Active recovery, kind of like what I said before with the dynamic stuff, it's great post exercise. Just again, I've done a lot with rugby sevens, so it's as simple as finishing hard training, getting a couple of drink bottles, going for a walk, doing some lengths. That's what we're looking to try and do to try and really get again just to start the recovery process. Ticks two boxes at once, like I say, because I get to nutrition after this, I think, or soon. That you get some fluid into them, and then you get moving. Okay, so just start that process. Simple way to encourage that flushing. Okay, within competitions, really important as well, because again with a lot of team sports and even individual sports, it's often you don't just do one thing on the day, you often do multiple. So doing that little bit of active recovery afterwards is really important to again be ready for that next game. I really like the next day active recovery. So that's if you're in tournaments, waking up early the next morning, getting the team up, getting out, going for a walk, just starting to get the bodies moving, really better than just sort of going straight to breakfast, straight to the competition. Get something structured done, so then at least everyone's done something and they're all on the same page. And water-based recovery is probably the best active recovery, especially at the end of a tournament or between days. Just that weightlessness, taking load off the body, just really helps promote and restore range of motion and gets that circulation going. Compression clothing, again, so the jury's out on this one. Keeps muscles warm, promotes vasodilation, again, getting that circulation going, can reduce DOMs, and it's a very simple recovery method. Just put your skins on and sleep in them or whatever after a hard training or a hard event, because it's all about finding the extra 1%. So hey, if it makes a 1% benefit, happy days, do it. Nutrition and hydration, I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm just a guy that's been around this field for a long time. So I like to think I know enough that I can sort of share. Conrad, who works for the Massey Academy of Sport, is your man for all things nutrition. How I link this into recovery is basically obviously the goal of nutrition and hydration is to refuel and rehydrate, right? And how not to be that athlete. I come across them all the time, and it is so infuriating. Again, tournaments in really hot conditions, and they just don't drink, and they get nervous, so they don't eat. So they're going in undernourished, depleted, and not actually being optimal, no matter what they do. Which so then they risk cramp, they risk fatigue, all these things. So it's constantly just reminding yourself that it's very hard to be overhydrated for an event. I find that's very, very rare. What happens with athletes that don't often drink a lot of water, and then suddenly the day of the event they start drinking heaps, and of course they need to go to the toilet all the time, and they think they just won't drink lots of water because that's always going to happen. That's only because they've broken their cycle. They need to be better at constantly taking that fluid on. Okay. The goal of protein is obviously to promote muscle repair and/or growth, but don't think about protein shakes making you massive. Think about them from a recovery point of view. Okay. You damage your muscle fibers. Protein synthesis needs to occur to help repair and develop them. So ingesting protein can help with that. Within about 60 minutes of your exercise. But again, a good diet, you probably wouldn't even need protein shakes, but they are pretty quick and easy, right? So that's why we do it. Eating after exercise, obviously really good for replenishing those carbohydrate stores. So you do that as soon as you can, really. and then get something into them, and then obviously have a good meal afterwards. So it's really trying to get that get all that glycogen back into your system, so you've got some energy for your events. And hydration, there's always a way to do it, but you've just got to make sure you don't be. I mean, I know a lot of guys that, especially that just, again, they just won't do, they don't understand hydration enough, which is something where I find it's probably better coming from a nutritionist who can get into the nitty and gritty. But again, as I said, don't be that athlete. Start to think about again, it doesn't matter if you're an elite athlete or you're just, you're going out for lots of runs and things like that. You've got to have that adequate hydration on board, okay? And I reckon about 3 litres a day, right? 2 litres is bare minimum. 3 litres is probably optimal, but build up slowly. Don't go straight into 3 litres, or you'll be spending all your day in the toilet. Right, sleep. So I've got a quote here. So there's a lady, Dr. Cherry Ma, she's a sleep expert who works primarily with the NBA players in the States. I heard a podcast she did, and it was just amazing. She dealing with NBA players. The problem with American sports is often their big conferences are always traveling, and America's got big time zone differences. So sleep is something NBA players always struggle with, because they to try and perform optimally, you need sleep. But if your body clock's all over the show, you're going to struggle. So anyway, she starts all her talks with elite athletes with this saying. It says, if you were offered this thing that enhances your recovery, repairs damaged muscles, gives you faster reaction times, prevents injury risk, and gives you additional benefits, and it's free, would you take it? Now you're thinking, it's got to be steroids or something, peptides or something like that. She was like, no, the answer is sleep. Sleep gives you all those benefits. It's just, unfortunately, we tend to overlook that and always try and find something else to give us that all those wonderful benefits. Okay, sleep allows your muscles to repair themselves. Gives them time to actually recover. So more sleep, guess what, does more healing. So that's why it's optimal. You get growth hormone, that secretion in the night again, which just starts to really help that repair process. You oxygenate the blood, removing waste. So all those similar things that a good recovery session will do, sleep is doing that automatically. And again, probably one of the bigger ones is that neurological benefit of just like refreshing your brain, because it doesn't matter how willing your body is. Again, it's very cliche. If your mind is not there, your body it will not be able to function to its highest level. Poor or not enough sleep, again, has the opposite effect. Starts to have a catabolic effect, where that starts to release like stress inhibiting hormones, which decrease energy production, and fatigue, which is why when sometimes you have a sleep, but you just wake up and you're like, man, I feel worse now than I did. Chances are that's just sign your body saying, we need more, because that was rubbish, mate. Give us more. We can't repair everything that's been done in this short period of time. So elite athletes probably need, and this is coming from Dr. Cherry Ma, that elite athletes normally need at least 10 hours sleep, and that's, you've got to train your body. If you're a 6-hour sleeper or 7 at most, you've got to train yourself to have that 10 hours. So it's not easy, but there are ways you can make it easier. Okay, the room shouldn't be too cold or too hot. Rather be on the cooler side. Heating it up isn't so great. Cool just seems to be, your body just seems to hit that sweet spot and everything starts to hum while you're asleep. Black the room out. It's got to be dark. Again, that's one of the big things. If you don't have blackout curtains, good luck. You're just never going to be able to get that sleep. And the old one of saying, especially for a lot of you student athletes out there, put your phone to bed 60 minutes before you do, because again, mentally you're still too alert just by scanning through your phone. Okay, so just get rid of it. All right, couple to go. So alcohol. Now we're very lucky at Massey. We've got an incredibly well researched expert in this field. So Dr. Matt Barnes has done a lot of stuff on alcohol and recovery. So I'm just going to skim on it again, just from my my own findings. Now, again, being involved with a lot of university athletes and teams of young men and women, alcohol can really undo a lot of that recovery stuff that we work on. Okay, so especially injured athletes that then choose to go and drink, it blows my mind that that's still quite prevalent in a lot of sports today. Basically, what alcohol does is, and this is again my take on it, is that it really affects your ADH, so your anti-diuretic hormone. So what that means is, that's why you drink and you're always going to the toilet. Your body loses the ability to control its fluid levels. Okay, that diuretic hormone's just washed out, so you can't hold energy, which is why you get very dehydrated. It slows down the muscle repair process, decreases our immune response, effectively opposing what our body wants to do. So everything I've spoken about, it basically undoes that. Small to moderate amounts of alcohol can be okay. So it's not like go teetotal, but it's avoiding those big sessions, and that's something that, again, unfortunately creeps into a lot of sports all the way up to the highest level. You hear about a lot of teams and athletes getting into a lot of trouble. It's the big team, the teams put curfews in place for a reason, right? They know that if athletes are having some drinks till midnight, that's fine, for example. But that's why they put the stop in place, because they know that if they get into bed at midnight, they're at least going to get 8 to 10 hours sleep. It's when they go on these all-night binges, you actually can go back days, weeks in terms of where you've been and what you've worked hard to achieve. Okay. My loophole story is brilliant. It's a guy who, I won't name him, but he now plays in the New Zealand cricket team, and he was injured and playing cricket, and so we sent him in for hot colds. It was the last day of a 4-day event, so I sent him into the cold pool. When I came and checked on him, he was in there. He'd been in there for, I think we gave him 6 minutes, and he was onto his 3rd beer in the cold pool. And again, just beggars belief that you could think, oh great, yeah, I'll go recover, but I better grab some beers because it's the last day and all the boys will be on the beers later, so I'm getting a head start. So again, that's our whole don't be that athlete. Just be smart with alcohol is probably the easiest way I can mention that. So now, because this is a pre-recorded clip, obviously there's no time for questions, but if you've got them, there's my email address. Please email me, and if you want to copy just a link to the stretching routine that I find is really, really awesome, please contact me. Or if you've got some more questions about recovery, would love to hear from you. But yeah, that's my presentation today. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll look forward to hearing from you later. Cheers.